Welcome and thank you for joining us this afternoon for the Spring 22 semester virtual town hall. I'm Andrew Scarrett, Assistant Director of Media Relations in the Office of Communications, and I'll serve as your moderator. President Dr. Larry Robinson, several members of his senior leadership team, and other administrators will answer your important questions related to the protocols as we begin a spring semester facing another surge in the number of COVID cases locally, statewide, nationally, and around the world. Thank you for the questions you sent in advance, and we will try to answer as many as time allows today. Many of the questions will be answered in open remarks from our panelists. Also, to submit a live question on Zoom, click on the Q&A icon on your screen. This afternoon's forum will be recorded, posted, and archived at famu.edu/virtualtownhall for your review on demand. Thank you again for joining us today. And now it is my pleasure to introduce President Larry Robinson. Over to you, Dr. Robinson. I think Dr. Robinson is muted. Michael, can you unmute Dr. Robinson?
There he is. Still.
Yeah, we're not hearing Dr. Robinson.
Dr. Robinson, your volume down. Mike, can you control his volume?
No, he's unmuted. That's all I can do.
Dr. Robinson, maybe check the volume on your laptop or desktop. Let me call up there.
He's connecting.
Over to you, Dr. Robinson. Okay, I think we're having some technical difficulties.
Give us 1 second.
Okay, while we wait for Dr. Robinson, I'll throw it over to Provost Dr. Maurice Eddington, and he'll give us some opening remarks, and then we'll come back to Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, Andrew. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure for us all to be here to take some time to provide updates and information to address your questions and concerns. As Andrew mentioned earlier, we have several members of the President's leadership team, as well as other individuals from key areas across the campus. And we're going to do our best today to try to address as many of your questions as possible. And for those questions that we're not able to get to, we will follow up and provide some additional information, particularly for those who've sent emails in. If we don't address some of those specific questions, we'll reply to you via email. And so with that, we can turn it back over to you, Andrew, and proceed until Dr. Robinson joins us again.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Eddington. And right now we'll pitch it to Rika Calhoun, and she's the head of our Continuity of Operations Task Force, Chief Ethics and Compliance Officer. Rika, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. In our pandemic response, we continue to focus on the preparation of our university community and facilities. So as you know, we are still employing enhanced cleaning protocols and mitigation efforts through initiatives like temperature kiosks, sanitization stations, and UV light filtration systems throughout our campus buildings. We've developed documents that will communicate our university expectations and changing guidance, including a welcome back guide, quarantine and isolation guidance, and a vaccine comparison overview. So you may have seen those documents coming to your computers and accounts. Expect to also see updated guidance for group travel. So we'll use several platforms to get this information out to you. So that will include FAMU Info, the FAMU mobile app, and our website. So continue to check those outlets for updates. We've modified the return kits. So everyone knows about our Rattler return kits that we have available every semester. We've modified those kits to include KN95 masks for faculty, staff, and students. So departments should contact me to arrange for pickup of return kits and or masks. So if you already have your return kits and need masks, you can request those as well. Working with our logistics lead, Sharon Brooks, we will communicate the wider distribution dates once we've completed all the modified return kits. We've also incentivized testing in the first 2 weeks of this semester with Rattler Bucks to end on January 15th. So after you go to the testing site to get tested at our FAMU site, you will simply swipe your Rattler ID card and $10 of Rattler Bucks will be added to your account, a one-time award. They will be added to your account within 72 hours of verification. So after the testing incentive ends, we will resume our vaccine initiative and incentive. As you know, that ended in December, so that we'll be restarting that as well. And thank you to everyone who has been vaccinated so far. We look forward to continuing to provide awards to our faculty, staff, and our students. So speaking of testing and vaccination, our site continues to be critical in our pandemic response. So our Director of Student Health Services, Tanya Tatum, she will be speaking to you about what her team is seeing at the site. And I would just reiterate that when you go to the testing site to get tested, wait until you've received your rapid test results before you return to the classroom, the workplace, or university building. And as you have always been, right, you can continue using the FAMU mobile app to screen yourself. So that's always available. So we did get some questions about how we're looking at the environment, right? So we continually assess the university environment. We have an implementation team that is composed of several university areas. And that team meets weekly to assess university environments and propose adjustments based on the pandemic. And we share those proposals as appropriate at the larger weekly meetings that we have with the campus community. We're constantly kind of looking and seeing how we can address the pandemic as it evolves, right? So while classes and events will continue much like the fall semester, the mitigation strategies and the procedures that we've put in place and developed over the last almost 3 years now have put us in good position to tackle this latest variant. So remember to wear your masks, stay home if you're sick, get tested as appropriate, and get vaccinated and boosted. And so with that, we look forward to having a great spring semester. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
Turn it
Rika.
back over to Andrew.
Thanks, Rika. We really appreciate that. And I think in the years that we've done this, your leadership has really made a significant difference in our response to this pandemic. And right now, we'll hear from Tanya Tatum. Again, Tanya, congratulations to you and the staff at the site for the recognition of Person of the Year from the Tallahassee Democrat. Some recognitions are harder, and this one really was, and we're full of pride and praise for you and what you do. Over to you, Tanya.
Thank you so much, Andrew, and thank you for the kudos. We have a great staff that works there really hard every day, so I'm really excited about that. I want to go through a number of things, and there's one thing that I've said from the very beginning when we started in this process of responding to the pandemic, and I said, this is not going to be a sprint, this is going to be a marathon. And unfortunately, it's an even longer marathon than I had even anticipated, but we are still here. We are still working to make things make things work so that all of us can continue on in our lives, continue with your educational programs, and our professional lives. So we are here, we're here to serve you. So there's no disputing the fact that we are still in the midst of a pandemic. And unfortunately, this spring, we have the Omicron variant, which is extremely transmissible, and we are seeing the effect of that now. The state of Florida, we are open for business, and we will put in and have put in a number of things to help protect people, but still allow individuals to carry on in their lives with some changes and some things that will help protect you in the midst of the pandemic. Like Rika had mentioned earlier, we've done a lot of work on this campus as far as taking care of the HVAC systems and all of the other mechanical things that we need to do to, you know, create as safe a place as possible. But this has always been a joint project. It is something that all of us have responsibility to take care of some things. So each of us individually have to make those decisions about getting vaccinated, about testing, about mask wearing. And quite frankly, those three things, those three items are probably the most important as far as any kind of mitigation practices that we can do. Everybody should be testing whenever you've had an exposure, or if you start to display any symptoms. If you think you've been around a large crowd or something, or people that you don't know their vaccination status, it's certainly an opportunity for you to be tested. Those of you here in Tallahassee have the opportunity to test at the testing site that's on campus. It's open 6 days a week. We've tried to make it as convenient as possible to make sure that everybody can get that service. And we've also provided an on-site testing company for the law school. So our two areas that have the largest quantity of students, faculty, and staff, we've, you know, been able to make arrangements to make that accessible to you. So please take advantage of it. It's really, really important, particularly with this new variant. Vaccinations. Vaccinations, we opened up our vaccine clinic this past year. We've done really well. We've administered probably over 23,000, yes, well over 23,000 vaccinations. So that's something that you can take advantage of. It's been shown that the vaccines are safe, they're effective. And if you haven't gotten your booster doses yet, you need to get your booster shots, because that's what's really going to protect you with the Omicron variant. Masks, campus has been really great about providing masks. With this new variant, because it is so transmissible, we are encouraging everyone to wear what they call KN95 mask or N95 mask. It's a different one that's got a harder shell. So please use that. We'll have those available. They just provide a greater level of protection from this variant. It's important to make sure you wear your mask appropriately, not under your nose or not on your chin. You've really got to cover. This is a respiratory virus. So if you're breathing in the air, you're just breathing in the virus, and you've got your mouth covered with your mask, so that doesn't help. So please try to make sure that you do that as much as possible. Isolation and quarantine. With this virus being so transmissible, you can probably do everything right and you still may get COVID-19. Okay. So should you become positive or should you test positive for COVID, we do have some guidelines. And
Michael,
we published that earlier. So please take some time to look that over. We put it out on FAMU.
I think she's muted.
All right, I'm not, I got it. Thank you. If you do become positive with COVID, the isolation period is now 5 days. So please make sure that you notify our office if you do become positive, because we have a responsibility to just make sure you're okay, but also to follow up and do contact tracing with other people you may have been around. And our staff will, discuss symptoms and a possible return date. So the CDC guidelines are asking that you isolate for 5 days, wear a mask. You can return to your regular activities and then wear a mask for 5 days. And you really need to be very good about wearing that mask, okay? What changed in the other guidelines for quarantine, now quarantine is if you've been exposed to COVID-19. Again, if you have not been fully vaccinated, or if your vaccine has been more than 6 months ago, you will be asked to quarantine for 5 days. Okay. If your vaccination was more than 6 months ago, or it's 2 months if you had the J&J, you haven't had a booster, or you're not vaccinated, you will be asked to quarantine for 5 days. That means stay at home. And then it's 5 days we'll ask you to test and see if you have a negative test. And if your test is negative, you can return to your activities, but we again ask you to wear a mask for 5 days after that. So that's the quick and dirty on the vaccinations. I'm sorry, not vaccinations, but on quarantine and isolation. There were some questions that individuals had asked. Someone asked about the movement for housing. We kept our protocols the same as they were for fall semester. So students were asked to present proof of full vaccination, not just one dose, but full vaccination, unless you had the J&J, or they were asked to present a negative COVID test within the last 72 hours. So that was in place. We have temperature kiosks located in all of our housing facilities. So I just want to remind everybody that that process did not change from fall semester. So we still had that in place. And it worked. I have a number of people in isolation who arrived and unfortunately waited till they got here to test. And so they're in one of our isolation spaces. So we are trying to make sure that we're all as safe as possible. When somebody does test positive, students in particular, please contact my office. You can email me. I think half of campus has my cell phone number, which is okay because we follow up with everybody who tests positive or thinks they've had an exposure. I have a contact tracing team, and they are very good and on point about making sure we reach out to everyone. So communication is absolutely key. So let me know and we will follow up with you. Faculty, staff, and students, again, let us know. The quarantine, I'll be happy to help explain the quarantine and isolation guidelines. We're also making sure that we're sanitizing areas as needed post-exposure. So we will take care of it as best we can. And I think, Andrew, that's all I have for right now. And I'll answer questions later.
Thank you very much, Tanya. And I'm looking at the Q&A and the chat. So the questions are coming in.
Okay.
Right now, I think Dr. Robinson is with us. Dr. Robinson, I think
Yes.
You're up.
Well, thank you, Andrew. I hope y'all can hear me this time. Having some computer difficulties, but thanks to the team for helping me through it. At the risk of being redundant, let me go ahead and say a few things that I planned to say earlier. First, good afternoon and happy New Year to all of you. I'm certainly looking forward to a great spring semester as well as a great 2022, and I hope you are as well. So I bring greetings from the 9th to 7th fields, and I want to begin by recognizing the efforts of the Florida Board of Governors, the state university system, and our very own Board of Trustees for the things that they have done and are doing to help us address the many challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic. However, of course, I must also really praise our faculty, staff, students, and community members for their continuous efforts that allow us to operate in the current environment. As you probably heard, we all share the expectation that as a university community, we must remain vigilant and work together to stay safe. It is the only way that we can protect the family. This marks the beginning of yet another year of us working within the climate of a global pandemic. We expect and strongly encourage you to continue the safe practices of wearing masks in indoor spaces, preferably KN95 or N95 masks, getting tested regularly, vaccinated, of course, and taking booster shots at the appropriate time. All of this you can get done right here on our campus at our very own FAMU COVID-19 testing and vaccination site. Speaking of the FAMU COVID-19 testing and vaccination site, I'm extremely proud that the site workers have been recognized by the Tallahassee Democrat as the 2021 Person of the Year in recognition of their dedication and efforts in the face of the ongoing pandemic. Special recognition, however, goes to Ms. Tanya Tatum, who you just heard from, our Director of Student Health Services, Dr. Cynthia M. Harris, Director of our Institute of Public Health, and Associate Dean of the College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences, and lead nurse, Ms. Tracy Pless, and all of those who dedicate their time to make sure that the FAMU COVID-19 testing site on One-ish Way runs smoothly, rain or shine. That's a quote I took from the Tallahassee Democrat as it announced that award. You should know that upwards of 50 persons in a single day work at that site to make it accessible to you. I must emphasize, however, that that site from the beginning to now is a collaboration with members such as the Bond Community Health Clinic, Leon County Department of Health, the Florida Department of Health, both local hospitals, and countless students, faculty, staff, and community leaders and volunteers have worked together to make that possible. Who would have imagined that this site, originally planned to operate for just 2 weeks in April of 2020, would become one of the longest standing community-based testing sites in this region? Who would have imagined that 551,814 tests would have been administered at that site since its inception? And we are equally proud of our community-based vaccination site, which has provided 23,379 vaccines since late February of this year. And for your added protection, and thanks to the donation of testing equipment from Thermo Fisher and the generosity of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, we were able to provide additional PCR testing specifically for FAMU students, faculty, and staff at our own laboratory that's housed at the FAMU Center for Viticulture and Small Research out on Mahan Drive. Through these testing and vaccination sites and other mechanisms, our faculty, staff, and students have reached out to communities far and wide, offering support to local, state, and national efforts designed to battle this pandemic. We feel a sense of obligation to do so. We are also obligated to you as well, and today we have, through this town hall, another opportunity to inform you of the ongoing efforts that the university has to address your concerns. We will answer all your questions either here on this call or later through email correspondence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Really appreciate that. Now we'll hear from Dr. William Hudson, Vice President for Student Affairs. Dr. Hudson.
Good afternoon, Andrew, and welcome everyone. I want to reiterate what has already been stated by President Robinson, Provost Eddington, and others. The Division of Student Affairs cannot stress the importance of everyone wearing good quality masks this semester, such as the KN95. Tanya Tatum has eloquently covered what we're doing on campus, from our transition through our residence halls, and also Provost Eddington and others has covered what we're doing as far as classrooms as well. I do want to reiterate that our students are of the utmost importance to us, and their safety is paramount. I also want students to remember to enter their insurance information in the online portal at Student Health if you have existing coverage. Now, students will be charged for the mandatory insurance if Student Health does not have a copy of your existing insurance on file. We also want to discuss financial aid. The Financial Aid Office worked diligently through the holiday break alongside Sierra Cedar and Oracle to ensure the disbursement process for the spring 2022 term will go smoothly. We are confident the issues that befell the university in fall 2021 have been primarily corrected, and we are in a much better place as it pertains to dispersing aid to our student body. The Office of Financial Aid will begin authorizing award disbursements after drop add on January 12th. I'll reiterate that. The Office of Financial Aid will begin authorizing award disbursements after drop add on January 12th. Students must be marked attending in all classes before awards can be dispersed. Please monitor your SFP student portal and iRattler account for disbursement posting updates. Student accounts will disperse those awards once those files are sent. Housing open on Tuesday, January 4th, 2022 at 9 a.m. The housing common area daily sanitation schedules for the residence halls for spring 2022 are 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., 12 noon to 2 p.m., 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., and at 10 p.m., the final trash and debris check will be done for those areas. Please make sure to assist us in keeping our residence halls and facilities clean and also disinfected. As you see, our workers go around making sure that they are wiped down the common spaces. Please assist us in ensuring that those spaces are disinfected electronically with the equipment that we have, but also that we keep our areas clean. Staff and students are expected to wear face coverings that cover their nose and mouth when in the common areas of the residence halls. And remember that cloth masks alone are insufficient for transmission of recent variants. Vaccination, including booster shots, are strongly encouraged. The housing portal for fall 2022 is open. The Village and the FAMU towers are actually full except for the Living Learning communities. These are for our first time in college students. The Learning Living community applications are open for prospective students and their deadline is May 1st, 2022. Students must apply for the LLC via the housing portal for the 350 available spaces. All of the LLC information is online at the housing website. Students who are still continuing to sign up for housing and want to be in specific spaces, they can be placed on a waiting list. You must go ahead and sign up for the available spaces presently and then place your name on the waiting list. The waiting list opened at 9 a.m. on Tuesday on January 4th, and it's been added to the housing application page along with the menu link for the homepage. Counseling services will continue to see students via telemental health and in person. Students who schedule appointments at the beginning of the semester can usually be seen within 7 days. However, as always, students experiencing an emergency or crisis will be seen the same day. However, the length of wait time will vary depending on the therapist's availability. Counseling Services has hired a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner who will start on January 18th for a 1 day a week, and 2 more part-time mental health counselors have been hired who will be providing therapy virtually starting in February. Counseling Services continue to provide WellTrack, a self-help app for stress, anxiety, depression, public speaking, resilience, and mindfulness. The app can be downloaded on a student's iPhone or a faculty or staff's iPhone or other devices by using the FAMU email address as the code. It is available to students, faculty, and staff. Students can also call WellConnect when they need to speak with a counselor after hours or when counseling services and/or the university is closed. And that information is on the university's counseling services website. The Department of Campus Recreation will open the Hansel Tooks Student Recreation Center for the spring operations on Monday, January 10th. All outdoor recreation facilities will be available beginning Wednesday, January 5th for open play. Currently, operational hours for the Tooks Recreation Center are scheduled to remain open on Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and closed Saturday and Sunday. Outdoor facilities will remain operational Monday through Sunday, sunrise to 10:30 p.m. Students utilizing the Tooks Recreation Center and participating in intramural sports will continue using the FAMU Come and Play app for session registration and league sign-up. We stand poised to implement any policies and procedures in response to the COVID pandemic and look forward to having another wonderful semester at FAMU. The FAMU ERCCD begins spring semester on January 4th, 2022 by continuing the 2020 mitigation procedures and protocols at the center. This is our child development center, and our teacher-to-child ratio is adequate for adequate care, and we are hoping for the continued wellness of our children and our staff. We just recently hosted a family school meeting on Wednesday, January 5th to reintroduce our procedures and answer questions that families may have. For our students with disabilities, CDAR is fully operational and ready for the spring 2022 semester. Students approved for accommodations can enter requests online in the AIM portal. Students seeking eligibility for services can complete the online student application and upload their documentation in our AIM portal as well. Our academic advisors are ready and available for students who utilize our advising services both for CDAR and in the student union presently from 8 to 5 until tomorrow. The Everson Student Union, new student orientation and campus visit staff have planned for the spring 22 semester. The Welcome Center campus visits offer virtual and in-person services. Campus visits and tours are limited to individual family members of 30 or less and must adhere to social distancing. We ask that all of our visitors wear masks while on campus. Prospective students can visit our website at famu.edu/orientation and select campus visits to schedule their visit. We are conducting group tours by appointment only. Please contact the FAMU Welcome Center to do so. And finally, the Office of Student Activities will be conducting virtual and in-person programming throughout the spring semester. Programming information will be sent via FAMU Info and the iStrike portal. Just a snapshot of the activities planned for this semester are cooking classes partnered with Publix, virtual escape room, painting, and Bardes sessions. For Black History Month, Falling Black in Love workshop will be provided as well. We are excited to announce that Gallimore Lanes Bowling Alley and the Rattlers Den will be open starting Monday, January 10th. We are excited that we will also have and conduct our spring elections in February. Please continue to get vaccinated and wear your mask. And as always, protect the family. Back to you, Andrew.
Thanks, Dr. Hudson. And, all students are our main concern on this campus, and we really appreciate that information. Now, many of our concerns have come from employees, faculty, and staff. And now we'll have Interim Associate Vice President for Human Resources, Sandy Smith Anderson, with some remarks. Sandy.
Thank you, Andrew. Good afternoon, Rattlers. We can all agree that 2020 and 2021 were years like no other. All constituents of Florida A&M rose to the occasion, meeting and exceeding expectations for academic and operational performance through strategic partnerships with our stakeholders. Through it all, we continue to provide excellence with caring and maintain our position as the #1 public historically Black college and university in the nation. We adopted a commitment to protect the family, and by an account, we did, and we continue to do so. Communication has been a critical success factor in managing through the pandemic. We have developed a website specific to COVID-19 with communications developed specifically for our students, faculty, staff, and other key stakeholders, such as parents and community citizens and agencies. Within the Office of Human Resources, we continue to partner with key strategic holders to develop resources for our campus community, as it relates to coping and dealing with the pandemic. Some of the resources include guidelines to employees and supervisors regarding testing protocol and how to remain productive during the pandemic. Also, use of leave during the pandemic. The availability of alternate work schedules. Services available through our Employee Assistance Program, which is also known as Resources for Living. And that is to help our employees manage through the impact of the pandemic. We encourage all employees to use these tools. As you've heard throughout this afternoon, updates will be provided as they become available, and we will continue to communicate through our website and meetings such as a town hall. While maintaining our focus on health, safety, and wellness of our university constituents. We expect to remain vigilant and follow CDC and university guidelines regarding wearing masks, testing, and vaccination. Thank you for your time.
Thanks very much, Sandy. We really appreciate it. At this point, we will move into a Q&A session portion of our town hall. And before, I know a number of people have been putting in questions in the Q&A, and staff and administrators have been answering some of those questions. But I wanted to give Dr. Edison the first hit at just addressing some of the faculty-related questions that he has encountered up to this point. And I know that there are a number of other faculty-related questions in the Q&A. Dr. Eddington.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. So I'm going to try to address several similar questions together. A lot of questions were submitted about the same general topics. So one general area had to do with questions about whether or not the university was going to begin the semester first couple of weeks by offering remote instruction. And the answer is no. FAMU and all of our sister institutions in the state university system are not taking that approach. We are proceeding with offering the combination of in-person and online courses as you see as they're coded in our system. Classes on the main campus began yesterday, and classes at the College of Law will begin next week on Monday, according to the academic calendars. But no, we are not transitioning to the remote mode of operation at the beginning of the semester, not in our system. Another general question had to do with faculty working with students if a student has an absence due to a COVID-related issue. And just as we did last semester, we were asking our faculty to work with each student on a case-by-case basis to assist the students when they have to be absent. So our faculty have been very flexible in helping to work our students to make sure they don't miss out on any coursework. And we expect that to continue. So for the students, you should start with engaging your instructor when you have to be away from class for any of those types of reasons, for those short time periods. There was a question on that topic from the College of Law about their strategy specifically for dealing with students who are away from class. And the college does have an approach, a strategy in place. We have a variety of strategies across the campus. I do want to direct the law students to consult with the dean's office on the very specific strategies that the College of Law is using, because all of our colleges and schools are using a variety of methods. And so there's not one specific approach that applies to all the units. I know the college has provided recordings to students, but the details I think are better addressed between the administration. And I also will send some of those College of Law specific questions to the dean so that she and her team are able to provide some feedback to the college community. And then that question also about the mode of instruction at the first few weeks of the semester. We did get a question from the College of Law very specifically about the college, and it's the same response. The college will begin the semester as indicated on their schedule, which is in-person instruction. I think there was another question that had to do with whether or not faculty can mandate mask wearing in the classroom. We expect our stakeholders, students, faculty, staff to wear masks, but faculty cannot mandate that. Okay, and it's very important that students do not feel that they're being forced to do something in the classroom. That's very important that we respect that, but we expect that we respect that right, but we expect our stakeholders to wear masks and to operate and carry themselves accordingly. And that includes with getting vaccinated and boosted. So we encourage everyone, as you've heard here today, to follow those protocols, please. There are a couple of questions about class scheduling. We did have an issue at the early part of the week with some of the classes in the system. They were missing the locations, but that was corrected. So if you have any specific issues that you encounter, you can contact your instructor or dean's office directly or the office of the registrar. But we don't see any of those issues in the system currently. And then also, I just want to make sure I catch a couple other questions from the Q&A. There was also a question from the College of Law about whether classroom cleaning will occur between classes. I will direct you to the college administration for a response on that, but I'll also provide that question to them directly so that they can share that information. There's a question about whether is it true that all classes now have the option to conduct remote learning? And the answer is the classes are being offered the way they're coded, and most classes on the campus are coded for in-person instruction. And then there's a percentage, about 10% of the classes are going to be delivered online in traditional online format. And that's how the classes should be delivered for the duration of the semester. We are not teaching this semester using the HiFlex or Zoom mode to teach the full course. Right? We're teaching the full course as it's coded. Most of those courses are delivered, as I said, via in-person instruction. And then I'll pause there and turn it back over to Andrew to see if there are other questions that need to be addressed.
I think there was one final question from a professor about the right to request social distance, when, in communication, because clearly, because a lot of it is about expectations and not mandates, clearly, as you said, people who are gonna have to work and be considerate. So does a professor have a right to request social distancing?
Yeah, well, I'll answer that question this way. I think we all, right, are it's within our right to have some distance between people that we engage with. And I think it's perfectly appropriate for instructors in the classroom setting to announce to the class what their preferences about physical contact, right, and separation. And I encourage faculty to make general announcements to the class about how they would prefer to have interaction with the students, so that it's clear in the classroom setting what the expectation is. And then when you encounter an individual, right, in that classroom setting or in the hallway or on campus, it's appropriate to ask someone to separate from you, right? I think as long as it's done professionally in a courteous manner, we all have the right to ask people to respect our personal boundaries as we can.
Thank you, Dr. Eddington. Dr. Robinson, did you want to join in here in terms of some of those concerns that people are raising?
There was another question raised that we kind of discussed earlier, Maurice, regarding a faculty member indicating that several students have indicated that they are COVID positive and they want to be excused from class. And how is that verified? I believe Ms. Tatum might be the appropriate person to respond to that that issue.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. We have asked the students, faculty, and staff to notify my office should there be a positive test or should they become aware of a positive test. And it's through our office that we will, follow up with that individual to verify or confirm that status. We're not in a position to report out all of the information. However, if there is a question or we find that someone is not honest or appropriate with their request, we will certainly make sure that the faculty members are informed. There have been a number of emails that I've received that students have said, hey, I'm going to be out for 2 weeks. I tested positive for COVID. I always respond to the student and that faculty member stating that the isolation period for being positive with COVID is 5 days, and then you may return to your regular activities. So we try to make sure that we're very clear about who has what time periods people need to be out. If need be, the students can request specific release documents from us, and we can do that also.
Yeah, while you're speaking, Ms. Tatum, there was also a question about the availability of KN95 masks. I think maybe you can talk about the kits that we're providing to all students and faculty and staff as they come back to campus and what the process is for receiving those.
Okay, well, I believe Ms. Calhoun spoke to those earlier, and we are making sure that you reach out to her office. And we'll also make arrangements for days which will be available to make distribution for those to, students and individuals in general. The different departments can send an email to Rika Calhoun and let them know how many kits you need for your faculty and staff. And we'll handle those that way, and we'll get them ready, and then they'll let you know when you can come pick up and what location you can. So I won't say that we can supply everybody with KN95 masks to last you through the entire semester. However, we have a very good supply on hand, so we'll be able to make sure that everybody gets started with a bunch of KN95 masks, and we've also placed additional orders for more masks. So we're doing our part to make sure that we try to keep campus as safe as possible. It's going to be up to everybody to, once you get them, to make sure that you use them and wear them appropriately.
Thanks very much, Ms. Tatum. And here's a follow-up question that I think would be directed to you. What if a roommate tests positive or gets COVID? What happens to the additional roommate, and where do they go?
When someone tests positive that's living in our campus housing, we have a number of rooms that are set aside for isolation. We will, as long as I have rooms available, we will move the individual to isolation, and they will stay there for that 5-day period, at which time they can return to their room. We usually try to get the roommate out of the room for a period of time, several hours, so we can go ahead and have the room sanitized so the roommate can come back into a cleaner space. I will let everybody know, because this is such a transmissible virus right now, we will be running out of isolation spaces. So students, you need to think about what it is that you're going to do and how you're going to manage, because I cannot guarantee that I will have an isolation space for every single person. So I'm encouraging everybody to really take care, take precautions, and to recognize that our actions sometimes have consequences. So we'll do what we can. I will, help and assist everybody as much as we possibly can. And we'll see how it goes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
There's a question about the dashboard about, how do people keep track of how many positives are on campus, whether it's in Tallahassee or on, or in Orlando. I think you had spoken, you've got some ideas about the dashboard and and how useful it is?
That's always a catch-22, and I joke about it with Rika a lot. Because we do not have any testing requirements, it's kind of, we can always let people know how many positive cases we have, but it's not a good way to give you an indication of how much disease spread there is, because I don't know how many, we don't have the full number of people that are testing. We don't know. So and people test in different places, and we don't have access to all of that data. So we'll, in our next implementation meeting, we will discuss the dashboard and see how we can best keep campus informed, but at the same time, make sure that it's data that is useful and is meaningful.
Thank you very much. Let's see. Dr. Hudson, were there any other questions you saw on the chat or the Q&A that you wanted to address verbally?
No, Andrew, I think staff is going through each question and answering directly on the chat, so everyone are receiving those answers.
Okay. Okay. Appreciate it. Okay. It's
So there was a question from one of the faculty members at the law school regarding the requirements not to be able to teach via Zoom, etc. I would like to direct that person to the memorandum we received from the Florida Board of Governors, the chair of the Florida Board of Governors, and the chancellor on December the 27th. In fact, if you go to the FAMU website and to the COVID-19 part of that site, you see that letter prominently displayed. Following that letter, which outlines our general operations for the spring semester, I sent out a correspondence on the 31st, defining, pretty much reiterating some of the elements in that letter from the Board of Governors. That's also included in that on our online site as well, and we tried to get that to all of our campus community through FAMU Info, and I think Dr. Hudson and others put it in students, those special places that they go. We even tweeted it out and social media, et cetera. So we made a full-scale effort of making sure everybody understood the operating conditions for this spring semester.
Thanks, Dr. Robinson. Tanya, there are two questions I think you can help with here. Accommodations for students with pre-existing conditions. A number of people have asked about that. About how do we address issues of students with pre-existing conditions?
Okay, so there are no special accommodations for students or individuals with pre-existing conditions. What we do encourage and what has been recommended is individuals who do have pre-existing conditions, make sure you get vaccinated, make sure you have your booster shots. I think that is what's going to be most important and provide you the greatest measure of protection against COVID-19. So other than that, there aren't. However, students, if you're a student, you can certainly reach out to the office of, to CEDAR, the Center for Disability Access and Resources. If there are additional accommodations that you can, that you're eligible for under those guidelines, then you can certainly follow through with that. And for faculty and staff, you may certainly get with the Office of Equal Opportunity Programs if you have a qualified disability and can access additional accommodations through there.
Thanks, Tanya. Okay. Yeah, so thanks to the staff and administrators who've been answering a lot of the questions online. And this is a reminder that this recording will be archived on our website. And so that if you want to go back and listen to it again, there is certainly an opportunity to do that. Dr. Hudson, there's a question from a parent about how does a parent get a lot of this COVID-related information? Is there a mailing list? There's a way for them to get notifications the way students do?
They can go on through our Office of Communications, the website, to get all the information concerning COVID-19. That is why we established that website, so that they can stay up to date on the information, as well as social media outlets through our Office of Communications. That is the best way for parents to receive information. Now, we also provide it on FAMU Info, so they can access all the information that we're providing the same method. We do send students emails through the official mode of communication is the FAMU email.
Okay.
And Andrew, I wanted Tanya and myself to address another topic we addressed before, but Tanya, could you start with just for students who may miss a class or more than one class session due to a COVID-related issue, if you could talk about it from the student perspective, what should the student do when that situation arises in terms of communication? Then I'll address a part of that when you're done.
Okay. If a student is out for a COVID-related issue, the first thing they need to do is to contact my office, okay? We'll work with you, confirm your status, whether it's an exposure or whether you have a positive test, give you the correct guidance as to what your next steps should be, and then we can help you at that point. We will advise you to communicate that information to your faculty member. Faculty members typically contact me and I'll respond, but it's vitally important that you contact us as soon as possible and not wait 2 weeks later or at the end of the semester. We need you to know right then so that we can assist you and make sure we can confirm and verify the information and move forward.
And then also for students, one of the best things you can do in terms of your classwork is to communicate very quickly with your instructor about your situation. We are asking our faculty to be flexible in working with students who encounter these situations. Our faculty did a tremendous job last semester in working with students through these issues. So that's where you want to start, with communicating with your individual instructor. And then you also have access to the administrative team in the office of the dean in your respective area for additional assistance. But we just want our students to know that work with your faculty, and we continue to ask our faculty to continue working with our students. We appreciate the flexibility you all have shown this past year. And that's one of the key strategies that's allowing us to make progress in the classroom, which is flexibility. And then also our deans, when needed, the deans are able to provide dean's excuses for appropriate situations. And so students can also consult with their academic deans as needed to see if that's an option for addressing specific issues. So just communicate with each other is one of the things I'm really trying to stress. Students to faculty, faculty to students, as you have been doing over the past year.
Thank you, Dr. Eddington. Really appreciate it. And as we draw, if there are no other answers to questions, we will sort of hand it over to Dr. Robinson for closing remarks. And I think, yeah, the message here is communication. Is that we've managed this far by communicating, and this town hall is sort of our commitment to communicating. Dr. Robinson.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for being the master of ceremonies today, and thanks to all of the participants for their providing information, and all of those who signed in today. Thank you so much. It shows your interest in helping us to provide a safe environment for this spring semester of 2022. There's no doubt these are some tough circumstances we find ourselves in, but you are all some very tough people. And so I know that we'll get through this because of that. Please be safe, adhere to all of the guidelines that you've heard, take advantage of the resources that we have available, get tested, get vaccinated, and let's plan on seeing, several hundred students perhaps march across the stage this year at our spring commencement. So that's what it's all about. We want to continue our services to provide for the educational well-being of our students. And I think if we continue to work together like we've had the past few semesters, we'll be able to continue the great progress we made at Florida A&M University. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson, and to all the panelists and all the staff members and administrators who have been answering questions. We appreciate your efforts. As always, we want to thank the Michael Simmons and Robert Seniors and the IT staff for the amazing work they do. And finally, just a reminder that this town hall will be posted online at famu.edu virtual town hall, so you can review at your own convenience. Let's protect the family, folks. It's the commitment that we've made for the last 20 months, and we cannot go back on that commitment. Thanks again for joining us, and have a good afternoon.
Bye, everyone.